Once again, Andrew Stuck, Walk, Listen, Create. We are running writing competitions, and we run an annual writing competition, but we also run occasional writing competitions, and this was an occasional one. We invited people to write a story in 39 words, based or inspired, triggered, prompted by John Buchan's The 39 Steps. In part, this was to test a website that we've created, which is called Write at WLC. And it is in the group chat, but I'm not sure whether you can see it, but hopefully you can. And if not, I'll pop it in there again. The site itself was built by my colleague Babak, so a big thank you to Babak. But there are other people I need to thank before we start. And I want to just mention Nigel Bristow. He will be joining us later. I don't think he's on the call yet, but Nigel wrote the introduction to the chapbook. He's an enthusiast for film, and he teaches directing fiction at Goldsmiths, and he's a film director in his own right, and he's a huge font of knowledge about all the different machinations of the 39 steps. So we'll come on to the real people who are in the room, but there are a couple of people who are still not in the room and may not come, and they're the two volunteer judges. They were Mary Loring and Nick Sayers, and those people are unaware of this. They are man and wife, even though they go under different names. Mary stepped in and Nick stepped in because one of the people we were hoping to approach was Jeff Nicholson, and sadly Jeff passed away in January, and his partner Caroline Gannon, who may be on the call, I hope she is, has very, very kindly offered a prize, and we've dedicated the competition to Jeff. And we'll come on to the prize and hear a bit more about Jeff Nicholson later in the show. The editor of the chapbook and of the very short stories, she said that she loved reading them and all the rest of it, was Anne-Marie Lopez, and she is in the room, so she might reveal herself to you, but then again, she might not. If you skim across the faces, you might find her. And of course, the illustrator and publisher is a guy called Alban Lowe, and he's far too shy and modest. He never shows up at these events, but a big thank you to Alban Lowe. And a really big thank you for Electra Rhodes. Now, I'm going to hand over to Electra, and she's our MC, but Electra is actually she was our MC last year for our annual writing competition showcase. I should be reading out her biography off the Walk, Listen, Create website, but I've completely forgotten to do that. So Electra, you might have to introduce yourself.
Everybody, I am so thrilled to see everybody. Oh, look, lots of lovely, waving, happy, cheerful looking people. How lovely, how lovely. I am really glad to have been asked by Andrew, who's just disappeared off my screen, which is kind of exciting. Oh, is your screen doing that wonderful thing where you've got the gallery, a bit like the Brady Bunch, and it keeps changing around? Awesome job. All right, we are the Brady Bunch. Just to think of me as the really cool housekeeper whose name I've forgotten, and who apparently in real life was having an affair with one of the kids, I think, on the show, or maybe the father. Can't remember. Anyway, very exciting. We're not
Alice.
the Brady. Yes.
Alice.
Alice. Oh my God, who is Alice? Yeah. Anyway, I'm quite like her in some ways. In some ways, I can see some of you looking at it thinking, gosh, this wasn't what I expected for a Sunday afternoon. You're quite right. Okay, so I'm Electra Rhodes. I'm also a writer, mainly of short non-fiction, but also slightly longer non-fiction and occasionally fiction, sometimes accused of fiction. It's a really fun thing, isn't it? Now, some of you might be incredibly experienced writers. Some of you I recognize, I've seen your names or your faces before. Some of you may be thinking, wow, is this what all writers' showcases are like? Yes, is the short answer. And also, no, it's as diverse as the people who are bringing their words to the page and to the screen. But it's always a thrill to have the opportunity to hear different people's work. Now, I'm a big fan of John Buchan, so I was especially delighted to be asked about this. 39 Steps. I'm going to say more about John Buchan and braid it into the work through this evening, because I don't want to get it all out there first of all, because I'm sure lots of you thought, oh, the 39 steps. Oh, I remember watching that or reading that or something about John Buchan. Maybe you went to Sorby Castle or something like that. So we'll get on to that later. We're going to start, as Andrew said, with 9 of the stories, and we're going to try and follow the order that I've got. And if you are somebody who is supposed to be reading, fantastic, go for it. If you're somebody who is not reading, I have got it written down and I might ask somebody else to read. Does that sound okay? Quite a few people nodded, and the rest of you put your thumbs up, and a couple of people looked as though they were thinking, I'm going to catch up in a few minutes and it'll be fine. Yes, it will be. It'll be absolutely fine. Okay, so we're going to start straight away with, I said to somebody earlier, I'm changing my glasses at the moment. I can't actually read. Oh, there we go. That's a bit better. We're going to start with story number 1, Fight to the Death for Love, which is Erica Charlotte, and she is going to read. So you need to unmute herself first of all. Go for it. Is she here? This is the one I discovered. Oh, yes, fantastic. Erica, go for it, please.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Congratulations on being shortlisted. This is Fight to the Death for Love. Christian braved a bar full of brawlers to get to his love, Erin. It wasn't until they broke several of his bones he learned she wasn't in the saloon. He went back to learn she was with the Undertaker.
Wonderful, thank you. One of the fantastic things about this is the brevity. So you have to be right with the reader right from the start. Erica, thank you so much. Right, our second story is by Catherine Giraudeau. And are you here? You need, yes, I can see
hello.
you. Brilliant.
Hi.
Bootjack Trail, Mount Tamalpais.
Tamalpais.
Excellent. I'm so glad that you're going to read the title again properly.
Bootjack Trail, Mount Tamalpais. Up railroad ties staircase, burning thighs, hard breath, clatter of Bootjack Creek. CCC built, New Deal. Better to pound sleepers into a mountain than sleep on the street. I would have built trails for bread. Tell me, can you climb through time?
Fabulous. Thank you. Thank you. You see what I mean about the brevity? Even read out loud, they're quick. So you have to get thrown in straight away. The third piece we're going to hear is A Walk of Mourning and Celebration. This is Michael Walgren.
A Walk of Mourning and Celebration, Michael Walgren. In 39 steps, my old life is over. In 39 steps, my new life begins with them. 39 steps reflecting on triumphs, tribulations, love, loss, memories, my dreams fulfilled, our dreams born, life, death awaits me in 39 steps.
One of the other things that you will find that everyone has done is created a world in which this is a snapshot. You have to imagine all the things not on the page. Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you very much as well, Anne-Marie. Next piece is The Cliff Lift by Leslie Cartwright.
Hello, everybody. The Cliff Lift. Sunshine, the lift, and ice cream. Miss Pence was looking forward to her day. At the door, a distinguished gentleman took her hand. Attention so assiduous that she barely noticed the police. At the top, he kissed her and melted away.
Wonderful. Wonderful. I admit to having read this out to my husband yesterday, who laughed quite a lot. So fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you, Leslie. Next one. This is story number 9. This is Stacey Bates going to read Count to 39.
Hi, I'm Stacey, and this is Count to 39. One music hall, crammed. 2 performers amongst the scattergun laughs. 3 watchers, watch. 4 half looks and hammering hearts. 5 reasons not to approach the neat, normal man. 6 unseen hands hold me back. 18 seconds before I do it anyway.
Great, great. Love it. Oh, the last line is a real nice. This is something about short fiction or non-fiction, is that you have to get everybody in there fast and get out quickly and tie it up at the end. And if you have a quick oomph, you have to land the ending. Lovely, lovely. Thank you. Occam's Razor, Francisco Cruz. Now, have we got Francisco here?
Okay, so Occam's Razor. This one's quite philosophical. To be, a lack of effortlessness, suboptimal ongoing circumstances, the absence of mind-reading abilities, a string of insurmountable misunderstandings. It wasn't perfect, clearly not meant to be, or maybe. She was scared to face what was in front of her.
Yeah, it's so interesting hearing pieces read aloud. And it's something that I'm sure you all do, is read your own pieces aloud before you finish writing them, because there's a different quality to hearing it spoken, especially if you read it into a recorder of some kind and play it back to yourself. Even if you don't like the sound of your own voice, hearing the words gives it a different shape to speaking it. Thank you, Anne-Marie. Super. Next one is Mors Janus Vitae, Death, Gateway to Life, and that's Sarah Royston. This is story number 21 for those of you reading along at home.
Hi, I'm Sarah. This is Mors Janus Vitae, Death, Gateway to Life. Slow creeping, I recompose your graven names, your paltry years. Black stone yields to my tongue, soft as honey, as memory. In silence, I unfurl supernovae of mustard, acid green, and livid bone. Thus, I make a cradle of your tomb.
Thank you. Oh, one of the wonderful qualities of this collection is that it covers every emotion and every sense. And it's something that you can do with a collection that you don't always get in a single subject chapbook. You don't always get that. But one of the strengths of this one is that you've got it all. You've got 39 flavors of ice cream or something like that. Thank you, Sarah. Super. Story number 17, Almost 40. This is by Krista. Now, let me see. Krista Carson. Is she here? Yes, fantastic. Krista, please unmute yourself and go for it.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm Krista and I'm reading Almost 40. On the run from time and boredom, I spy the assassin, my nail-bitten ambition, who trips me in all the hats I've ever worn, until the auspicious day stabs me with the badge of a hero.
Lovely, lovely. I particularly love the stab with the badge of the hero. Superb. It's also something that you have to do in really short fiction, is grab an image and make it memorable rather than it being, well, I'm going to say a little bit about Buchan's choice of language shortly, but not quite yet. Thank you so much, Krista. Super. And now, story 19, which is by Jed, who's not here, sadly. And this is God Bless. Now,
Goodbye, God bless. A quick parting phrase on the way to the train station through the church graveyard. But the cold, foreboding presence I felt before that long, dark end of my existence, I had blessed the wrong God.
Thank you. I kind of love that here we've got a little, what feels to be like a little bit of folk horror in with the mix. Superb, superb. Thank you. Thank you for everyone who's read or has read for somebody else. Now, can you believe it? That's 9 pieces already. 9 pieces already. And one of the things that happens when you are reading a collection is that if you read it straight through, it can be kind of like a meal, that you notice a taste or a flavor or something, and then you go back to savor it. Now, I've read this little collection because it's lovely and short several times now, maybe 4 times since it arrived on Friday. And what I've done is I've read them in the order that they are in the the concertina. Oh God, how much do I love that it's a concertina. But I've also read them in the order that Andrew sent to me, because it gives you a different meal. And that's a really interesting thing about collections, whether they're single author or multiple authors, is that the arrangement of story, sometimes Alban might say, oh, Electra, I love you, but it was just to fit them on the page. But sometimes editors are very clear, this is the order this should come in, or the author is very clear, this one, then this one, then this one, then this. And I find that fascinating. Now, one of the things about a concertina, of course, is that it looks like steps if you kind of fiddle with it a little bit. And I rather like that, not just because it's about the 39 steps, but there is something about a concertina and the nature of a short story where it compresses time or it extends a single moment into something really quite long. You see how I'm turning this into kind of like oh, isn't this interesting? A reflection on the writing. This is very meta of me, quite intentionally. And I love that. It could have been a little stapled chapbook. We've had them previously from Walk, Listen, Create, but I think this really rather suits pieces which are so short. Now, the other great thing about it being so short is that the 39 steps, the original film version from 1935, is 1 hour and 40 minutes. That's really short these days compared to so many films which go on and on and on and do half as much as this. Now, this was Alfred Hitchcock's first major work. It's black and white, 1935, but oh my goodness, if you haven't seen it, it's really worth watching. It takes great liberties with the text. John Buchan probably would not have I guess he must have seen it because he didn't die till 1940. It takes great liberties with the text. It's fan fiction of the 39 steps rather than an adaptation, and that's okay. I'm sure that Hitchcock put it past Buchan, and Buchan's estate was or his agent was saying, yes, lovely, super. It's going to be on the stage. It's going to be on the big picture movies. Let's go for it, because it became hugely successful, was hugely popular, made an even bigger star of Donat. And as I say, it also made a star of that part of Scotland. And I'm going to come back to Scotland a bit later. There's lots I want to say about John Buchan. There's lots I want to say about the 39 steps, but I'm not going to, not yet. We're going to move straight on to the next story, which is number 11, and it's Christopher Cunningham, and what a performer. So Christopher, are you reading? Yes, you are. Fantastic. Please, will you read? Please, will you unmute yourself first?
I am. Thanks. I think my bio on Walk, Listen, Create says something about me being an occasionally heard musician, and this might tell you why. What a performer. So many bars rest. It's nerve-wracking for us. 10. Fiddle players are designed for orchestral workhorses. 20. Or cart horses are seconds. 25. Tuba players count 30. These things in pints. 35. Sheer stress. 38. 39 and a half missed our bloody entry.
I love this so much. I love this so much. I might print this out and send it to my mother-in-law, who is a professional oboist, and she says that you have to count. You have to. I love this so much. Just simply, it's so evocative. Thank you, Chris. Superb. And anyone who's ever sung or played an instrument, but one where you have to count and keep counting and keep counting and just hope. And the tuba, unfortunately, you can't do it half-heartedly. You have to get it straight in there. Yeah. Thank you, Chris. Super. The next piece is Stacey, who is going to read Teacups and Spinning Wheels, please.
Teacups and spinning wheels. Dusk creeps up heathered moors. breathless steps on mossy ground. Smiling assassins lift their china teacups. Wheels within wheels turn. A half-remembered thought shape shifts. Cups clatter, tea spills, the memory forms, and the wheels click into place.
Great, great, also great. You know what you mean? Sometimes you just want to know what happens next. I feel like that with a lot of these. I want to know what happened beforehand and what came after. And I love that in a book of something longer where you actually want to turn the page. I feel like there's a page turner here. Yeah, thank you, Stacey. Very great. Correlation does not imply causation. Again, this is Francisco. Anne-Marie, will you be willing to read this one again as well? Thank you so much. This is 14.
Correlation does not imply causation. Francisco Cruz. His near supernatural hearing was not paying dividends. Hidden amongst the trees, the pigeons' echoes were akin to stubborn alarm clocks. On edge at daytime, monkey mind at nighttime, no rest for the wicked, a constant reminder, time is always ticking.
Great, thank you, thank you. Oh, I've just spotted somebody's got an applause thing in their window. That's so clever, along with the silent applause. Lovely. Thank you very much, Anne-Marie. Meet me at that place near the coast. This is story number 16, and this is Krista.
Thank you. Meet me at that place near the coast. Train chatter reminds me of the poetry of your shoes on the boardwalk, the song of lapping waves. What does it taste like, this new life? In the conspiracy of our existence, where is your shrine? Where's mine?
Yeah, great, thank you. I like the word boardwalk. It's funny how in a very short pieces, your mind often snags on a particular word in a good way. I don't mean in a bad way. And boardwalk, for me, is one of those evocative trigger words that makes me think, not trigger in a negative sense, but makes me think, now I am located in the story. And often if you have something early on, it fixes you there. And that's great. Really superb. Yeah, thank you. We bring Youth's Special News Bulletin. This is Michael Walgren. Hey, he prefers somebody else to read. Anne-Marie, would you be so kind as to read this? This is number 6, please.
We bring you this special news bulletin. Total devastation reigns across Metropolis in the aftermath of a chain of explosions. Hundreds dead, thousands more wounded. Authorities can't answer who is behind the attacks or why. Stay tuned. 2 minutes. All I needed was 2 more minutes.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Got chills reading that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And I like, it's one of those things where on the page, you can see that that's written in italics so that you have a different sense of it. Super, really super. Thank you. And number 38. This is like bingo, isn't it? Number 38, come in, number 38. Oh my God, the Rosalind Beach Affair. And Leslie, this is over to you.
Thank you. The Rosalind Beach Affair, hidden in darkness, pulling his hat brim and collar against the rain. She would not evade him again. The light in her room went out, and he waited for a glimpse of an approaching shadow, a waft of perfume.
Oh, now that one gave me the shivers when I read that as well. Yes. Oh dear, the waft of perfume. What would be the perfume? What would be your choice for her perfume?
Oh, it'd have to be Poison.
Oh, okay. Oh, very nice. Very nice. Okay, very nice.
Very Essex. Yeah.
Lovely. Thank you very much. Super. Another 5. We've gone through, we've heard 14 stories so far. I find this fascinating, hearing one section, then another section. And you'll see what I mean already about the different genres, the different kind of flavors, the different impetus behind the different stories. Now, John Buchan was a man of different flavors and different influences. he was born into a very ordinary kind of family. And at the beginning, you would have never had thought by the end of his life, the kind of man that he would have been. He was born in a very ordinary, sort of lower middle class family. His dad was a Free Church of Scotland minister. His mum, from the sound of it, was kept the house. And yet by the end of his life, he'd been the governor of Canada and had been knighted. He'd been an MP for the collected Scottish universities. He'd been worked in South Africa. He'd worked in intelligence. He'd been a spy. You name it, he'd done it. He'd lived the kind of life that he then proceeded to write about in his different, particularly his adventure stories, like the stories about Richard Hannay, who first appears in the 39 Steps, although he's alluded to possibly indirectly in some of the earlier short stories that Buchan wrote. Now, John Buchan wrote over 100 books. And if you're one of those people who's thinking, do you know, I could write a book, couldn't I? I've got a novel in me, or a non-fiction piece. And then you find out that John Buchan, he had his first book published when he was about 20 and had numerous short stories and books of poetry and non-fiction published in his 20s and 30s and so on. There's a little bit of me just goes, oh, shut up, you annoying person. But he was a great, prolific and interesting writer. He writes with great economy and he writes with great affection for his characters. Now, probably Richard Hannay is his most popular and most well-known character, and it's been adapted at least 4 times for film and numerous times for television and for the radio and for the theatre. And Richard Hannay appears in a number of different books. It's not just the 39 Steps. He occurs in Greenmantle, The Three Hostages, and a few others as well as in a couple of short stories, and as well as a background character in 3 others. Now, how wonderful is that, to have a character that people adored? And some of his later books that he wrote featuring Hannay, he wrote them because people had written to him to say, what happened next? They were so interested in the character, believing him really just to be a lightly edited version, either of Buchan or of his friends. And there's lots of evidence to suggest, as Buchan himself said, that he was in part drawn on, and I love this name, Edmund Ironside. Not the king or the chief from the 12th century, but Field Marshal Edmund Ironside from the beginning of the 20th century, a contemporary with Buchan, not surprising, although he lived a little bit longer. And this kind of incredible influence on people's imagination extended not just into the, if you like, the public consciousness. It seeped into the landscape. I feel very disappointed, though, that the 39 Steps is listed in the 100 best books of the 20th century that the Guardian did sometime at the beginning of this century. And it's number 42. Now, I feel very regretful about that. I wish it was number 39 because I feel like they missed an opportunity. However, number 42, according to Douglas Adams, is the answer to life, the universe, and everything. And one of the things that Buchan was really keen to do was to make sure that he got in everything, life, the universe, and everything, in all of his books. He wanted people to feel carried away by the adventure, but also intrigued. Now, he won some non-fiction books for various biographies of various historical characters, people of influence, I suppose we could say. But he wasn't just interested in people of great... Some of the smaller characters are also rounded out and based on people that Buchan knew. So there's a housekeeper in Greenmantle, which is based on a housekeeper that a family friend had when he was a child. I love this, that every character deserves interest and attention. And he said this of his own work, that everyone deserved interest and attention. And he talks about it in his autobiography. I think he was a man who was interested and attentive in what he did and in what he wrote. And I think it's something that comes across in his fiction and non-fiction, but it's also something that you could say that this collection of the 39 steps is fan fiction of a sort. It's interpretive work. It's generative work generated or inspired by transformative work. It's what it's often called in literature and literary circles, where we take a theme or something and use it as the springboard for more. I have a little bit more to say about this, not surprisingly, but later. Okay, let's go on. Right, this is now.
This is actually written in quite an interesting way. That's how Joan wanted it to be spaced out. So it's like steps for a start, and then there's something else I'll mention at the end. 10 steps. Hannay walks faster. Birds stop chirping. 10 remaining steps. Waves are crashing. Thick strokes moving, recalling the chase. Train cars' feet. Reaching the sea. Before too late. Bullet in head. Blade in back. Footsteps are silent. Gone is Ariadne. And I just, because I had to look this up, I just thought other people who haven't looked it up might want to know that Ariadne, I didn't remember. I have seen the film and read the book a long time ago. Ariadne is the name of the yacht that Richard Hannay encounters when he's escaping the police. But it's also, I think, in Joan's, unfortunately he's not here because I was going to ask him about his story, but I think it's very like what you were saying, Electra, that in these very compressed stories, everything's very poetic and meaningful. And, you know, Ariadne's thread, I'm sure that has a meaning about, and actually when I was looking up Ariadne, it's also a problem solving technique where you have to write down each step of your problem solving so you can trace your way back. So I thought that was a very evocative ending.
Absolutely, and I think there's a reason why Buchan uses that name. It's also, you know, the Greek stories around Ariadne as well. Fantastic, thank you, Anne-Marie. Wonderful. Next story is number, I think it's 18, but do you know, I'm going to have to get different glasses for this. Murder in the Quarry, and this is Jane Sharkey.
Yes, Murder in the Quarry, location Lundy. A shot echoed through the quarry. Behind the War Heroes Memorial, a body fell. Pulse racing, adrenaline fueled, he knew escape was his only choice. He raced down the cliff path just as the ship's departure horn blew.
Oh, fantastic. And I can picture Lundy as well, which is, I think, when we know a location, don't you think it enriches our experience of a story? We don't have to know it, and a good writer makes it evocative, as this one does. But sometimes if we know a location as well, although sometimes, of course, it glitches because you think, oh, is it really like that? Is it a cliff or is it a flat heart? You know, I read something recently where I thought, I don't think it's like that. I think they've got the wrong inlet. I think they're in the one, and it turned out that they located it in a different inlet because it was better for their fiction. Shocking. Agatha Christie did this all the time. Places were not where you thought they were. Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you very much. Thank you, Joan. Arthur, Step Back, Pitch Black, Jumping Jack, story number 20, please.
Testing mine. Step back, pitch black, jumping jack. Destination unknown, I walk backwards, covering my back, but still inching forward. The sun rose, shadows grew on concrete. Steps were heard. A rope ladder cascaded down. Counting the rungs, step by swaying step, helped overcome my vertigo. Ta-da!
Fantastic, fantastic. This is story 22. Have you been a literary innkeeper for long? And this is Sarah Royston.
Have you been a literary innkeeper for long? I've served sack to pilgrims at the Tabard, grog to pirates at the Bembo, brandy to wreckers at Old Jamaica Inn. I've barred Falstaff from the Boar's Head and good-nighted poor Lil into the wasteland gloam. What'll it be?
Thank you. Thank you. Great. And this is it reminded me afterwards of what you can do with a title. If you've only got 39 words, what can you do with the title to throw people in straight away? And in this case, the question is asked and the story answers. Super. It's something that everyone who writes short fiction, I used to teach a workshop on good titles, because it's an art in its own right, particularly if you've got only a really compressed space. So thank you, Sarah, and thank you for the example as well. Next up, story number 3, Run If You Want to Live, and this is by Erica Charlotte.
Run if you want to live. Callie hid behind the general store, watching the fake police searching for her. She saw her only way out was up, so climbed the lattice to the roof, then jumped the buildings until the thugs caught on and gave chase.
Oh, oh. The words "gave chase" just give me the screaming heebie-jeebies at the end, because you just think that's not going to end well for someone. Oh, brilliant. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, and the last story in this particular section, No Escaping the Night, and this is Michael Walgren's story. And would somebody like to read? This is number 7 in the book.
No Escaping the Night. Running through the alley, his pursuer's shadow finally engulfed his own. 'Twas only a matter of time. He could only run so far, so long. They must protect their secret. Now, the world will never know. Richard, it's over.
Yeah, great, great. Again, this is one which finishes in italics, so we know that it's speech rather than, and it's something that if you know that a piece is going to be audio as opposed to on the page, you can do different things with it. Really, really interesting how you can, people who write for radio are asked to do different things to people who are writing for the page. It's a really different, it's an interesting phenomenal difference. Fantastic. Okay, my friends, this is story number 23, and Sarah is going to read us You've Got Into the Wrong Ditch, Richard Hannay.
You've got into the wrong ditch, Richard Hannay. Questions boggled my mind. Why was this ditch wrong? Which ditch should I be in? Why was an angry frog shouting at me? Shush, I murmured, sinking back into the slime. To my road-weary limbs, its coolness was balm.
Thank you. I do like a bit of ditch sleeping. It's very comforting. Lovely. Story 25. This is MJ Malik, The Adventure of the Comely Tourist.
Thank you. The Adventure of the Comely Tourist. Hidden among the yellow clad, I clamber down bedrock. Who, besides me, hangs back from the wonder of the falls? A giveaway. Yes, I have seen those misted lashes and licked her mascara river when she shed crocodile tears.
Great, great. Made me wonder what it tastes like as well. Super, really super. Story number 26. Now, Arthur, might be a good idea to read this again with the light off, not the light off, you know what I mean, the camera off. This is story 26, Paint the Cannons Pink. Arthur.
Paint the cannons pink. I don't want to return to tread these battlements again. I felt uneasy walking a line that divided people where blood had flowed for centuries. Ancient cannons still point towards the houses that lie below. Injustice endures.
Thank you. Thank you. And whatever your politics, there's something very evocative about the sight of those cannons along a line in Derry, Londonderry. Thank you very much. Story 27. Witch marks. Jane, are you going to read for us?
The Witch Marks, Benson's Cave, Lundy. 39 steps under the castle, she pressed against the cave's damp wall. Her fingers traced the old witch's marks carved deep in the stone. Would they protect her? A dark figure loomed in the opening. It stepped forward.
Oh. Now, I don't know if you're somebody who collects witch marks or goes around collecting witch marks, but if you are, there's some fantastic books and websites dedicated to witch marks around the UK. So you can go and see the different ones in different parts of the country and what they were for and what they, when they come from and what they were supposed to be protecting against or encouraging. Wonderful. Witch marks are incredibly evocative and generally protective, you know, benign and good. Lots of people have them in their houses. Yeah. And if you haven't done that yourself, why not? This is an opportunity awaiting you to put your own witch mark. Yeah, there we go. A friend of mine wrote a piece last week on her blog all about the witch marks. And I thought, oh, we could do that. Put it underneath our doormat. What's the best that can happen? Let's not worry about the worst. Okay. Next piece that we're going to hear is Sanctuary, and this is Leslie. This is story number 39.
I know Sanctuary. Through the open door out of the rain, I was admiring the stained glass when they came in, about to announce my presence with a polite cough. I heard what they said, and now I'm terrified to breathe.
Oh. Great, great. Another landing that ends. Really, you know, another ending that lands rather than the other landing that ends. That sounds like the end of a pier. Another ending that lands. Super, really super. Thank you. Lee, for everything there is a season. This is story number 36.
For everything there is a season. A life of relative good fortune and even keels had been theirs. They knew their blessings, these two time travelers. Hands touching, they took each one of the 39 steps at a time, inching steadfastly through the veil.
Super. Thank you. And thank you for reading as well. Wonderful. Again, who could have expected that in just 5 stories we have such variety? So evocative of different places, people, periods, and circumstance. Now, one of the things that we know about John Buchan is that he influenced a huge number of writers, not just all of you in the room today, but lots of other writers, some of them really quite well known. Ian Fleming said of the Richard Hannay stories that basically every single spy story after the 39 steps has been influenced by John Buchan. And he was talking about his own work with James Bond. But everybody, he said, was influenced by Buchan. You couldn't not be influenced by Buchan. And that many of the tropes that we find in spy stories or the kind of stories that turn up with espionage or some kind of code words and secret things and stuff where somebody gets accidentally exposed to some information they shouldn't have, and then they're, you know, all of that. He says absolutely all of those kind of adventure thrillers, it's John Buchan. But it wasn't just people like Ian Fleming. Tolkien said that Buchan had been a huge influence on him, particularly in his use of landscape and place, and that he was very inspired by the ways in which certain scenes and scenery were intricately linked so that the landscape became part of the narrative. Now, lots of people who saw Lord of the Rings when it was brought to film by Peter Jackson said, starring New Zealand, you know, along with Viggo Mortensen and Liv Tyler and whoever else. And that's because the landscape mattered. And I think for Buchan, the landscape hugely mattered. Now, various other people like Graham Greene cite Buchan as a major influence. But then when you also get memoirists and historians who talk about his non-fiction work and say that too, again, going back to this thing about the fact that Buchan talks about being interested in people, really interested in people and who they are and what they do and what they say and why. And that comes across in his memoirs and also in his biographies. And he won the James Tate Prize for memoir one year. And I really commend reading more of Buchan's work. If you've only read the 39 Steps, or if you've not even quite read that, but have seen the movie, honest, if you've read none of his other work, he's worth reading. He goes in and out of fashion, I think, just as the film version is very different to the more recent film version with Rupert Penry-Jones as Richard Hannay, or the television series, which uses some of the other novels like Green Mantle to bring Hannay to life beyond the 39 Steps. I mean, Buchan was interesting and interested. Read more Buchan. For now, we're going to hear another story. And this is story number 10. And this is Stacey. And she's going to read 39 Steps Left.
39 steps left. Step. A step behind mine. They tread where I tread. Step. I turn a corner. Light fades. Step. Footsteps echo. Street lamps. Step. They step where I step. Darkness falls. Step. That's faster. How many steps are left for me?
Yeah, super. And that repetition is something that anchors the story. It's something that, again, is really effective. You'd think 39 words, can we really say step quite a few times? But you do it really effectively. One of the many things I love about this collection is that so often a story exemplifies a really important thing that is part of the skill in writing really short fiction. And it's worth going through and reading the stories that you didn't write and going, what's the thing about this story that makes it zing? Because each of the stories has got something that makes it zing. And if you are somebody who loves writing short fiction, it's worth nicking all their good ideas, as well as being really pleased about your own good idea. Thanks very much. Thank you, Stacey. Story 29, How Quick It Ends. And this is Jacka Roston. Now, Jacka, you're here, and I'm really sorry if I've pronounced your first name really poorly. Jakar, thank you very much.
How Quick It Ends. It took 9 months and 3 weeks to train as a soldier. Now, a half hour plus 9 minutes into his first mission, he lies alone, feeling searing pain as the light fades from his eyes.
Oh. It's kind of gutting. Oh. I read this just after I'd been cleaning photographs, family photographs, and one of them was of my grandfather who was fought in World War I, and it's a picture of him in soldier's uniform, which he probably had taken at the front and he sent home. And I happened to read this story just afterwards, and I was thinking, it was probably only 39 seconds away from that being him. He was lucky he came home. He actually caught Spanish flu, which is why he came home. But I loved how the brevity still captures the enormity. Wonderful. Thank you. Peter Isaacson, not here. Oh, lucky me. Sleeper Cells. Will somebody read us Sleeper Cells? Anne-Marie, fantastic. Thank you.
Okay, Sleeper Cells, Peter Isaacson. Fort fire operative down. A lump. Feels ill. 101. Antibiotics. GP registration. A fortnight. A&E 6 hours. Dismissed. Unexamined. 101. GP. Ultrasound. 4 weeks. Ultrasound. Immediate operation. Rapid double crossing. Minch, Scotland, Bloods, CT, hunting down fifth columnists, chemical weapons imminent.
Great, great. Again, fantastic use of incredibly short sentences, declarations almost rather than sentences. Super, really super. And I'm really sorry that he's not here for me to hear him somebody say, gosh, that's super. I love that. Thanks, Anne-Marie. Super, super. Super's a great word. Don't let anyone tell you different. Next story is number 32, The Bell Ringer. And this is Jane. Fantastic.
The bell ringer. Finally, the clue she'd been looking for, etched in the lead of the roof. 10th bell tolls. Julia raced down spiral steps past the bell ringers. 10 bells, one still. This told her everything. Footsteps followed close behind.
Thank you. Thank you. I feel like there's a code here that we need to decipher. I love this. That, yeah, I now want to know more about these people. And I appreciate that it gives us a clue about the bells in the church in Lundy. But I want to know more about the code that needs to be broken. I hope some of you will come back another time with more of the story. So, you know, maybe over the course of 5 years, we will gradually build up the whole story of a particular person. That would be awesome. Actually, that'd be really great. Story number 33, Gin Lane, Bridget. I hope you're going to read.
I am. Gin Lane. This is after William Hogarth's famous engraving, Gin Lane. It was too late when I cried out, little limbs flailing as she fell. Mother Geneva in her cups and heedless, as down baby bounced, broken on the gin shop floor, dead for a penny, no clean straw.
Oh, lovely piece of ekphrastic writing. Isn't that a great word, ekphrastic, which means something that's drawing on something else, usually art, or it might be music, or it might be poetry or something like that. Lovely. I mean, I love his work. This is the satire of his work, and that beautifully pulls out a tiny detail. Superb, really great. Story 31. This is Jed C. He's not here, so I'm hoping somebody is going to be willing to read Little Did They Know.
Little Did They Know by Jed C. Little did they know. A couple staying in a small seaside town, enjoying the isolation of a little quiet hotel with no one around. Alone at last, they thought, but alas, they were not alone. Little did they know.
Oh, great, thank you. Another one of these stories where I just think, oh no! And my hands have gone clammy about that one. Thank you. Thank you for the reading as well. Now, coming up to this is my penultimate chance to say something. Scotland. Just before Christmas, I went up to Dumfries and Galloway, which had a huge impact on John Buchan, and saw a lot of the landscapes that feature, particularly in the 39 Steps, but also in some of his other writing, particularly the Hannay novels. And I went to Scobie Castle, or Scobie House, which is an old Scottish late medieval building, which is now Racken Room, which belonged to the Hannay family. Now, the Hannays, Richard Hannay is a fictional character and probably based on Edmund Ironside. But he also, Buchan said, that the Hannays, in their various incarnations, influenced him too. Now, the name Hannah is also a derivative of the Hannay clan. The castle itself is one of these four-sided, square, tall buildings that you get in Scotland, more like fortified houses than castles traditionally, as we understand them. It's a fantastic building. It's fallen into ruin, but the Hannay Society are doing their best to bring it back, and they've got grants and things like that. But that whole area, and if you've read Gavin Maxwell, Ring of Bright Water, that's also set in the same part of Scotland, Dumfries and Galloway, which is kind of like the Dibley bit that hangs down off the southwest of Scotland. Dibley bit is a technical geographical term, in case any of you were wondering about that. It's a kind of wild landscape, and it's hard to get to. It involves train, a bus, another bus, a ghost bus, and then a bus which doesn't really exist at all. And if you're lucky, it arrives in time and it's not snowing when you're waiting at the bus stop for 3 hours, but it does turn up eventually. Not that I'm speaking from personal opinion or anything like that. It's also the area where Wigtown is located in Galloway. And Wigtown is the Scottish book town. And very good. Open books, fantastic, fantastic. MJ's got a mug from one of the bookshops in the town. It's a wonderful book town. And it's an incredible place. The whole area is an incredible, beautiful place. Now, I was there because I was volunteering in one of the bookshops. I spent 2 weeks as a volunteer selling books and spent a lot of time directing people to the Scotland section, because people come to Scotland and they want to buy books about Scotland, and they particularly want to buy secondhand books about Scotland, and they particularly want to buy secondhand John Buchan books which feature Scotland. And people would come up to me and say, have you got the 39 steps? And I would say, yes, and show them a very large line of the copies of the 39 steps, many different editions, many different iterations, many different covers, many different conditions. And people sometimes wanted the earliest one we'd got, and the earliest one was a first edition, quite expensive now. So some people, it was part of their pilgrimage. And Buchan is somebody who inspires pilgrimage of a certain literary kind, because for some people, the stories evoke a particular memory of their childhood or a particular feeling about their life and the life that they didn't live, or that they almost lived or want to live. There's something about the Richard Hannay character who always says yes to life, and that's inspiring for lots of people. He doesn't always want to, but quite often circumstances mean that he has to, and he's compelled to. And I rather feel like Buchan himself, although I suspect Nigel is going to say other things about Buchan, or I hope he is, was somebody who was not too dissimilar in that respect. We're going to hear the last 5 stories, and we're going to start with Katira, but I think isn't here. Just looking to see. I don't think so. This is story number 34, No More. Is anyone able to read this for us? Stacey, thank you so much.
No more. She touched the tip of the knife she held. Down the hall, her daughter cried. On the couch sat the cause of all their tears. He barked for silence. Her grip on the knife tightened. She left the kitchen.
Oh, thank you. Great, great. This is a story by Michael Walgren. Again, somebody to read, I hope. Just looking. Oh, Stacey and Erica. Oh, only one of you though. Erica, you read this one. This will be super. And this is a short story of life. This is story number 5.
Okay, A Short Story of Life by Michael Walgren. Light, crying, hunger, sleep, sensing, smiling, laughing, seeking, curiosity, coordination, movement, speech, learning, logic, running, playing, dreaming, imagining, growing, changing, emotions, education, independence, salutations, experiencing, experimenting, working, paying, loving, exploring, settling, expanding, slowing, enjoying, appreciating, longing, reflecting, waiting, peace.
Lovely. Thank you. Thank you. Again, the effectiveness of the single word. Yeah, super. Story 35, Being Cruel to Be Kind. Now, this is Bridget.
Being cruel to be kind. At the top of the stairs, you said you would stay. But 20 steps down in the cafe, you left the shawl I'd given you on the back of a chair, sloughed off like an outgrown snakeskin.
Oh, Yeah, great. Great. Gosh, isn't that evocative? My goodness. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Story number 37. This is Assignation. Leslie.
The Assignation. She surreptitiously caught the note with her fingernail and pulled it from the pack with a cigarette. Piccolos, 2 a.m. Smiling, she held a match to both, took a deep drag on one and dropped the other in the ashtray.
Now, I think Piccolos is a club of ill repute. Am I right?
Might be.
Might be. Great. Piccolo is a great word in its own right. I love words like that. Piccolo. Super. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Story number 28. This is the Fog Battery, and this is Jane's going to read this.
The Fog Battery. Fog hugs the western cliffs. Footsteps echo through the ruins. I hide behind 2 rusty cannons as shadows grow. 2 families vanished here. The Fog Battery's warning blasts haven't sounded since. Until tonight, someone knows I found their secrets.
Oh, lovely. I really hope you're going to write a Lundy-based collection. That would be super. Yeah, great. Great. Thank you very much. And story 24. This is Sarah, and she's going to read Various Parties Converging on the Sea.
Various parties converging on the sea. River, phosphate, silver eel. We flow, converging on the sea. Raindrop, gannet, suicide. We fall, converging on the sea. Holiday traffic, green turtle, refugee. We crawl, converging on the sea. Pebble, pilgrim, child. We dance, converging on the sea.
Lovely. Thank you. Thank you. Again, the repetition works really, really well. Converging on the sea several times. You'd think, can we do that in 39 words? Yes, we can. Super. Thank you, Sarah. I can't believe we've heard all 39 stories, but we have. And we're going to finish with where they start, which is the introduction, which Nigel is going to speak about, I hope, and hopefully read as well, and perhaps say a little more about what he has in the bit that introduces the whole collection. Over to you, Nigel.
Thank you, Electra, and thanks for being an amazing host, an amazing enthusiast, and I've learned a lot as well. I know considerably less about John Buchan than you do, so I feel a bit of a fraud, really. I'm certainly not going to pretend to be an expert. I'm very happy to read the copy that I wrote for the introduction. I'd just like to thank everybody for their stories. Quite a selection, and they do kind of have conversations with each other. Also Anne-Marie for editing it, and Alban, who I think isn't on the call, for his extraordinary illustrations, but also book design. That's quite something. So for what it's worth, I'll read what I put for the introduction. 39 Steps to Immortality. Richard Hannay, the hapless hero of John Buchan's The 39 Steps, first stepped into the world in 1915 and immediately found himself in a state of mortal danger. Happily, Hannay is alive and well and very much still with us. Patrick Barlow's Tony Award-winning stage adaptation, taking Hitchcock's 1935 film as its inspiration, plays the spy adventure story as a camp romp, the breathless rush of the action mirrored by lightning-fast quick changes, with the cast of 4 playing all the parts, often swapping identities mid-scene. As if that wasn't enough of a claim to immortality, the unkillable Richard Hannay seems to have surfaced elsewhere under an assumed identity, or identities. Ian Fleming was an avowed admirer of Buchan, and it doesn't take a codebreaker to decipher his influence on James Bond. An added twist of Hannay in Bond's DNA comes via Alfred Hitchcock. Hitchcock never filmed Bond, though he was approached. But North by Northwest, 1959, is much discussed as a template for the Bond movies. And Hitch's own 39 Steps, 1935, was in many ways the prototype for his later North by Northwest. This breathless trail leads all the way from 1915 via the Scottish Highlands, through Mount Rushmore, up to the Bourne series, and every other innocent man on the run nail-biter. And what of the titular MacGuffin, the 39 Steps themselves? They seem to be every bit as shape-shifting and unkillable as Hannay. In Buchan's novel, there are a set of physical steps down to the beach. In Hitchcock and Barlow, they're aspiring. Turn the pages to see what other guises these treacherous steps can assume. ... Now read on. Well, now we've seen what guises they can assume. They're pretty enduring and mutable, I would say. And it's a real pleasure to read the stories, to hear the stories. So thanks very much.
Thanks so much, Nigel. Wonderful. I really enjoyed reading this introduction, and it made me go and look up things that I only half remembered. It was such a pleasure to, you know, when you get a kind of like a microscope and you look through the microscope and then you turn it, oh no, this is a kaleidoscope, and the pattern suddenly reveals itself. That's what it felt like. I read this and it felt like some things were being revealed to me that I hadn't really made connection with. And that's, you know, the art of a great writer is, even in something brief, giving you that new way of looking at someone or something. Wonderful. I'm going to hand back to Andrew in a moment, but just to say, because I get to only do one more bit later, it's a real joy to hear people read their own work or be in the presence of someone reading their work. So really, really lovely. If you ever get asked to MC something, bite their hand off, because it's a joy. Handing back to Andrew now.
Well, I don't know about everybody else, but I thought Electra was absolutely fantastic. So big round of sort of shaky hands, you know, or whatever you do. That was really fabulous and really entertaining. And thanks everybody who wrote in and submitted the competition. And as I said at the top of the show, although she wasn't here, we're joined by Caroline Gannon, who's the partner of Jeff Nicholson, to whom the competition was dedicated. And Jeff passed away in January, and Caroline has very generously offered a prize to her favourite, the author of the favourite story. And Caroline, if you're there, I'm going to hand over to you, because Caroline would like to say a few words about Jeff and maybe read something from his work.
Thanks, Andrew. Can everybody hear me?
We can.
Thank you. It's lovely to see you all, and congratulations. I'm actually, as Nigel has just told us, there was a connection between John Buchan and Ian Fleming and Alfred Hitchcock and John Buchan. And with the 1959 film North by Northwest, much discussed as a template for the Bond movies, and Hitchcock's 1935 version of the 39 Steps, in many ways a prototype for that movie. Forgive the background noise. I'm actually currently at Alexandra Palace. I've just seen a fabulous production of North by Northwest with a small cast playing many characters, just as with the award-winning stage adaptation of 39 Steps, again, that Nigel mentioned, and which some of you may have been fortunate enough to see in the West End a few years ago. So I feel that's serendipity, I think we can say. So as you've heard, I'm Caroline, and I was Jeff's partner, and I'd like to thank Andrew and the Walk, Listen, Create team for dedicating this challenge to him, including me on the judging panel and giving me the opportunity to award a prize in his name. I don't know how many of you know anything about Jeff, so I'll just give a little bit of background. He was born in Sheffield on the 4th of March, 1953. He gained a degree in English from Cambridge and an MA in modern European drama from Essex. His first ambition was to be a playwright, and I know we have a couple of of his kin here tonight, but prose was what drew him most, and this culminated in 27 books, of which 17 were novels and 10 non-fiction. 2 of the novels, Bleeding London, which was shortlisted for the Whitbread Prize, and The Miranda, feature walking, and 5 of his non-fiction works, Day Trips to the Desert, which was read on Radio 4 by Bill Nighy, Lost Art of Walking, Walking in Ruins, The Suburbanist, and Walking on Thin Air, were about the fine art of pedestrianism. And alongside the books, his journalism appeared in countless newspapers and magazines, and there are at least 75 anthologies in which his short stories appear. Many of these were also about maps and walking, exploring the relationship between emotions, behaviour, and geographic location, a focus which chimed with the growing, or perhaps we should say resurging, interest in psychogeography in the early 2000s. He also had a very active, entertaining, and often educational blog called The Long Lost Walker. Andrew might be kind enough to drop the link into the message if anybody's interested in checking it out. It's well worth it, but it's hollywoodwalker.blogspot.com. I'll try that again. hollywoodwalker.blogspot.com. Jeff was always delighted to be involved with Walk, Listen, Create events, and I look forward to continuing the relationship in his memory. He appeared in a number of podcasts and was on the judging panel for a couple of the previous writing challenges. In his own words, I'm a walker who writes and a writer who walks, part urban explorer, part desert rat, part psychogeographer and flaneur. Wherever I am and wherever I go in the world, I walk. I look around, I write about what I see and feel. It's not the only thing I do with my life, but it's probably the best part. He battled health issues in the months before his passing, but never lost his zest for life or his curiosity about the world and everything in it. Undertaking a research field trip for his latest project 5 days before his death. A month or so before he left us, he completed his 28th book, Burned During Reading. And I'm very pleased to make an exclusive announcement tonight that this will be published posthumously later in the year. Jeff died in Colchester on the 18th of January 2025, aged 71. And to end, I'd like to share with you the closing chapters of Walking on Thin Air, the final work published during his lifetime. I think this is apposite, not only for him, but for all of us who love to walk. Trying to decide what would be a fitting or appropriate death is a very bad and unwise idea. Dying while walking would be a fitting end for a man who's written about walking for so many years. But I'm sure that's far too neat, too much like literature, too much to ask for. Most of us die undramatic, unresonant deaths. Most of us die in beds, whether at home or in hospital. But even so, I suppose there must always be a very last step, even if it's only a lurch from bed to wheelchair. If a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, then every journey of whatever length must also end with a single step. I wonder exactly where and when that step will be in my own case. I can't say I'm ready for it, but I think I'm as ready as I'll ever be. And now it's time for me to go out for a walk while I still can. No point in saying, I'll be back soon. We appreciate the fact that you've participated in this competition. It really has brought out the best in all of you. You've embraced the brief brilliantly, and it's been a pleasure, as Elle said, to read the pieces. There is considerable skill, as you all know, and I know through Jeff, to creating flash fiction, especially when you have a word limit. But you've given us wonderful imagination, excellent reference points, great humour, and food for thought. And I hope you all go on to inspire others with your writing, as you have me. Thank you.
Caroline, can we put you on the spot? Which is your favorite story?
Okay, Well, Andrew, this is, I mean, it was terribly, terribly hard to choose. It really was. And I've read them many times over, and in fact, got more from them. Again, as Elle suggested, you know, reading them over and over really gives you see the multi-layers of so many of these stories. And I can see how much you know, so many of you have put yourselves in there as well. I mean, I have a couple, I will give you my choice in a second, but for example, I noticed that Stacey is a playwright who runs her own theatre company, and she wrote about the music hall. And I think Jed C., who calls himself an alternative horror fanboy, and wrote that wonderful piece about the small couples, the couple staying in the small seaside town, which had such foreboding. But as I say, it was a very difficult choice. You all did fabulously. I loved them. I loved each and every one of them. But I have chosen for reasons apart from the fact that it was just a great sort of, it was a great story. It was really dramatic. And even without knowing the subject, you could still really picture the scene. And I've selected Gin Lane by Bridget Daly, but the other reason being that apart from walking, Jeff's other passion was martinis. And that was a gin martini was our tradition. That's what we used to have at happy hour. Every Saturday and Sunday evening at 5:30, we would have a gin martini. So congratulations, Bridget. But as I say, well done, everybody. Fantastic work.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much. And Bridget, do you want to say anything? You don't know what you're going to receive. I'll send it to you through the post. It's clunky.
Wow. Oh, is it a bottle of gin? Thank you so much. My God, I kind of turned myself off because I thought it was extremely unlikely that I would win anything. But I'm really thrilled. Thank you so much. And everybody else was, I thought, so much better than mine. But there we go. Thank you.
All right. Well, Bridget, I'll be popping something in the post tomorrow. So fingers crossed. And Caroline, that's really fabulous. Thank you so much. And thank you very much for being such a huge supporter. And, you know, it's just such a shame we can't thank Jeff. But, you know, 'tis the way of the world. Anyway, thank you. Okay, well, I'm actually just going to explain what the prize is, and then I'm going to pass to Elle to Electra. And the prize itself, the prize winner walks off with a €100 cash prize and an artwork by Alban Low. And, you know, this is another good plug to Alban, because, you know, he's been a huge supporter of Walk, Listen, Create. He only charges us 50% of his going rate for all the work that he does for us because he likes what we do. And he's been all through the process. He's been unbelievably helpful. Not only in sort of laying out the book and things. We started off with a chapbook, which was going to be stapled, and then he said, "No, you know, actually, I think it'd be really interesting to do this as a concertina." And you can't get a concertina of that length printed, so he has hand assembled every single copy, because you can only print a certain number on a sheet, an A3 sheet, and then you have to, you know, paste them in together. So it's a limited edition, numbered 1 to 39, hand assembled by Alban Low. So a big shout out to Alban Low for doing that. That's been really fabulous.
Okay, so the winning piece is Have You Been a Literary Innkeeper for Long by Sarah Royston. This is story number 22. Sarah, I'd love it if you would read it again and also tell us a little bit about the inspiration, apart from the 39 steps.
Sure, okay. Oh, I'll read first then. Okay. Have you been a literary innkeeper for long? I've served sack to pilgrims at the Tabard, grog to pirates at the Bembo, brandy to wreckers at old Jamaica Inn. I've barred Falstaff from the Boar's Head, and good-nighted poor Lil into the wasteland gloam. What'll it be? Well, thank you so much. I'm so surprised to be chosen amongst all these incredible stories that we've heard tonight. When I read the chapbook, I thought this is an incredible chapbook, but then hearing them read, they've all just really come to life, haven't they? And it's just been an amazing evening and such a wonderful showcase. So yeah, huge honor. Well, I saw the words literary innkeeper in the chapter of one of the chapters of 39 Steps. I confess, having read the book many times as a child and loved it, I didn't go back to it for the competition. I knew that I wanted to enter something, and I looked at, the sort of skimmed it a bit and just refreshed my memory. But it was some of the chapter titles really stood out for me, and this was one of them. And as soon as I saw literary innkeeper, my mind started going, like you said, Elle, you kind of spin off in different directions, don't you? So I started thinking about, pubs. I like a good pub in literature as in life. And these are just some of my favorite literary inns, just each get a very short mention. And as I'm sure many of you found, you start writing something that's like 3 or 4 times too big, and then you get it down so that there's like, 4 words for each of the ideas that you had. But yeah, that's the story of this little piece about the joy of pubs in literature.
Lovely. Thank you, Sarah. And it's something that works incredibly well as having a theme, but which also relates to the bigger theme. It's a great example of that. I really encourage people to look at the front of their copy when they get it, because Alban has managed to do an Escher inspired version of 39 steps, and believe you me, I counted to make sure there were 39, and there are, and it's an endless staircase, obviously inspired by Escher. Escher was Dutch artist who's more or less contemporary, a bit later, but more or less contemporaneous with John Buchan. And I feel like they would have had things to say to each other. So I love the intersection of the art with the story. It feels a bit endless. And I suspect that some of the people that are populating the cover also occur in the stories that you've written. So do have a look and think, oh, is that mine? Oh, I think it is, because I think it will be. Super. Andrew, I'm going to hand back to you. Thanks so much. And thank you for reading again, Sarah. And thank you for reading again, Bridget. Super.
Okay, well, I think we've thanked everybody at the top of the show, but we'll thank once again Caroline, because reading from Jeff's work and coming on this show has been obviously pretty special for us. And obviously great courage to you. So thank you for that. Fantastic, Elle. You've really entertained us, kept it all going, run through. Okay, we're a little over time, but not to worry. And everyone, have a lovely evening.